You've been thinking about moving to the Sunshine State, and Sarasota is on your radar. And why not? To live close to the beaches, to live in a place where there's no state income tax, and endless days of sunshine. You can feel it now. It's calling your name. You want to come. And those are all wonderful reasons to move to Florida or to the Sarasota area. But there is a little bit of a dark side. Now, the word dark side might be a bit of an exaggeration, but there are certainly things that you need to know about the Sarasota area and Florida before you move here. And you might be a little surprised by what I'm going to share with you today. And as a hint, I'm not going to even talk about hurricanes, humidity, or even homes. Number one, homeowners insurance. Now, you might think, okay, Jill, you just told me you're not going to talk about homes, but really, homeowners insurance is such a huge thing. I'm not going to talk about homes directly, but this needs to be at the top of the list, hands down, because it impacts everybody, whether you buy or rent. And the cost of homeowners insurance is very, very steep here. And it's like that for a number of reasons. It has to do with insurance fraud, litigation, and insurance companies being able to get something called reinsurance. Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive into those things, but please know that in the state of Florida, we have more issues here with these things than any of the other 49 states. So it's definitely something that you need to be aware of at least. So first, there's an issue as a whole with kind of the industry. And then second of all, of course, we do have our natural disasters. We do have our share of hurricanes, but even more so than that, this is what you need to be aware of in regards to the home that you purchase when you are thinking about homeowners insurance, to make sure it's something that's going to be manageable for you. So here are some things that are definitely you need to be aware of or mindful of as you're house hunting. First, this is going to impact your insurance rate, whether or not primary home, a second home, or an investment property. It's going to be less expensive if it's your primary residence versus a second home or investment property. And something I really recently learned, which I talk to insurance agents all the time and about problems, and I only recently discovered that actually your insurance rates will be impacted by whether or not you have filed a bunch of claims in the past. No different than like car insurance. If you've been in a lot of accidents, it's going to impact your car insurance rates. Something kind of similar with homeowners insurance. I'm not really sure how it all works. I'm just aware that that's a thing. So that's going to come up maybe when you go start shopping for homeowners insurance. Second of all, something I mention in almost every video is the age and condition of that roof. So it's just not, it could be a good roof, no leaks or anything, but if that roof is over 15, 17 years old, a shingle roof, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get insurance, or if you can get it, you're going to be paying more money for that. So definitely the age and condition of that roof is a huge thing. Second thing, which of course something that you may have already thought about, is flood zone. What flood zone are you in? Now, I used to say that the state of Florida, flood zone X, if you're in X, you're not in a flood zone. I don't say that anymore. I just say the entire state is a flood zone, but how risky are you? So X is the least risky. A, AE, V, VE, those are riskier ones. So that's something to be mindful of. But then also it could be the structure as well we need to take into account. What's the elevation? Now, our older homes are cute little bungalows out on the Keys, west of the trail, or even near Philippi Creek. If it's right at the ground or barely elevated, then your insurance is going to be a lot higher. Whereas if your neighbor has a house that's elevated, there's no living space really on the ground floor, maybe it's a garage space and then you go up a bit, or maybe all of the property's been built up, the land underneath the house, then they're going to have better elevation, and then their insurance is going to be less money. So not all flood zones are even created equal, because it depends on the structure and how that's been built. Next thing is having hurricane shutters or impact glass in those windows, because that will definitely keep your insurance rates down. Now, some people are just mortified to think if they look at a house that's 20 years old and they don't have that, they're like, oh my God, how do they function? Okay, well, my house was built in the 70s. These windows right here, look at my Band-Aid. These windows right here, original windows with original glass. They're a little rattly and all that, but so far so good. Thankfully, I've never had any issues with any of our hurricanes or heavy storms. So it's not that you can't live without hurricane shutters or impact glass, but I'm just talking to you in terms of how that could impact what you're paying for homeowners insurance. And then the next thing you really need to know about are these reports that the insurance agent is going to want, they're going to need in order to determine what your insurance is going to be. Like if you say, okay, I am interested at 123 Main Street, I just can't call up an insurance agent and say, okay, what are these people going to be paying? They need to know a lot more about the property to give you a better number. They can give an idea, but they definitely need, usually almost always, a 4-point inspection, and now sometimes a wind mitigation report. It just depends on the age of everything. So a 4-point inspection covers the electric, plumbing, AC, and the roof. And then the wind mitigation report talks more about the roof and how it was attached. And then also if you do have hurricane shutters, impact glass, those kinds of things. And then another side note too, in order for it to work, like if you, let's say you got hurricane shutters for your whole house, but if you have an old garage door and that's not up to code for, certain winds, then you're not going to reap the benefits of having hurricane shutters. Every opening needs to be protected. So that's a big thing, and not everybody gets that. They think, okay, I'm good to go. But if there's even a side door that, you can walk out from your garage and that's, old door, old glass, or a window in your garage. I have a window in my garage. Even if I did hurricane shutters everywhere, if I don't do something about that window out there and that door, it's like I don't have hurricane shutters in terms of the insurance benefits. So think of it that way. Now it's the inspector, the general inspector can do the 4-point in the wind mit report, and then it's the surveyor, and I almost said the appraiser. The surveyor is the one who does the elevation certificate. So those are the things that you will need to provide, potentially, maybe just one or all three, to the insurance agent to get those quotes. Now, what we do have in the state of Florida an addendum, a rider we could fill out that deals with homeowners insurance, but a seller kind of gets a little nervous about seeing that, and sometimes they don't want to sign it. They want to reject that. So what I encourage buyers to do is, if that contract is as is, let's get this insurance stuff all figured out during that time period. And if you don't like the rates, if you're not comfortable with that, then let's cancel that contract during the inspection period, and you can get your deposit back and all is well. You're just out the money for the inspections and the reports, but at least then you're not paying an obscene dollar amount for that insurance. So number one, definitely you need to know about homeowners insurance. It is certainly not cheap here in the state of Florida, and I'm not going to mince words about that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Number two, red tide. All right, so we get this lovely thing, sometimes 0 times in a year, or just mildly, or a couple times in a year, or it could be really bad in our waters, called red tide. And what red tide is it's an algae bloom. Now, algae blooms by themselves are not a bad thing. In fact, they're very beneficial for the circle of life there in the water. But red tide happens when these algae blooms kick off some toxic elements. And that's, in terms of science, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But what it can do is it can kill, anything in the water, fish, mammals, you name it. It can kill birds, and then it can even impact the health of humans, mostly with respiratory issues. You can cough, you can sneeze, your eyes can water. Now, all humans are a little different on how sensitive they are to it. Some people are very sensitive if the red tide is strong and they're miles inland. I am not like that. The last time I really felt red tide is when I was actually on the beach. And if I kind of went, even though I was still like near the beach, I was still at the beach, at the parking lot. If I was farther away from it, I was really okay. It wasn't until I was on the beach that I really had a hard time with it. So everybody's a little different in terms of their sensitivities. But a lot of people, they just struggle with it if they're on the beach. So if you want to be at the beach every single day, then being there when there's red tide is going to be a little difficult. Now, I do have people that'll ask me, okay, Jill, when's like red tide season? Like we have hurricane season. All right, there is no red tide season. It sometimes is there, sometimes not. Sometimes it's really bad, sometimes it's less bad. So it all depends. Now, there is a website by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation, I think I've got that right, and I'll drop that link below, where you can check every day for the whole state of Florida. Okay, where has it been the worst? Where has it been the least worst, or none at all? And it'll show you all over, so you can know. And please know too that just because if you say, oh, Sarasota's got red tide right now, it could be on Siesta Key but not Lido Key, or the other way around. So it doesn't mean it's an all or nothing for a whole area. Some areas can be better or worse, and they're really close by. So don't let that freak you out too much. But red tide definitely is a thing for us. And when it's really bad, it can turn the water red. Now, I'm not experienced that in person because I usually don't go to the beach if there's red tide because it does make me cough. So I haven't seen it in person, but yeah, it can do that. And it's really gross too because, there'll be dead fish, up and down the beach, and they come out and clean them up. But it's kind of a sad thing, but it's, just what it is. So we do get red tide, and you need to be aware of it. Let me introduce myself. If you don't know me yet, my name is Jill Thomas. I'm a real estate agent here in the Sarasota, Florida area. And each week I bring videos here on my channel to help you out, to help you understand real estate in this area. And then of course, what it's like just to live in Florida, like a video such as this. So if you've been thinking about making a move here, or maybe you've got some real estate business you want to take care of, this might be a good channel for you to subscribe to. But really, most importantly, what I encourage you to do is if you have questions, if I can help you out at all, please reach out to me. Call, text, email me. All my information is down below, and I'm here to help you out. So don't be shy. I'm happy to answer your questions as you try to figure out what's the next best step for you in regards to real estate. So first, sometimes people are surprised about the insurance situation, even if they're told up front. Until they get here, they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Or how important the roof is and things like that. And like I said, it really does impact everybody. Red tide may or may not impact you so much. It just depends on your sensitivities and how interested you are in being near the beach or going to the beach a lot. So there's our first 2 points. Number 3, traffic. Now, traffic can be a little bit subjective, and it really depends on where you're coming from. For some people, the traffic here can be a huge headache, and for other folks, it can be a real breeze. I was in New York City earlier this summer, and yeah, their traffic is something else. So I get it now when people come down from those areas and they go, seriously, Jill, this is just nothing. And then other folks are very overwhelmed by our traffic. It seems like we do maybe have a cycle of traffic where it tends to pick up like November, December, and then it starts to taper off around Easter, just after Easter. At least that's been the cycle for many, many years. Although I do feel like the last few years that has changed, and it's stayed a little bit more steady during the summer because we have so much new construction and growth out east and northeast, or even to the south, where now we've got more full-time residents who are here in these communities. And so that has definitely attributed to maybe more consistent heavy traffic patterns. But like, this is mid-October right now, and right now I don't feel like the traffic's so bad for some reason. A few of us have been talking about that. We're like, where are the cars? We expect it to be a little heavier, but I'm not going to hold my breath because the cars will come. Then the other thing too is once you throw in road construction, which can really be a good thing, I think, for the most part. Sarasota County does a great job keeping up with the roads. And then roundabouts, which are, I think, both a good thing and a bad thing, that can really impact the traffic as well. But really, I think if you plan ahead, you start to learn the traffic patterns during the daytime, that it will really help you out to know when to go, when maybe just to go, I'll wait a couple hours to do that, or I'll go earlier. And then that will help ease the frustrations if you don't care for the traffic. But in the end, you have to think, what's worse, shoveling snow in the wintertime and dealing with all that, or sitting in traffic while the sun is shining? So, you kind of have to pick your poison. So these 3 things tend to be items where people are usually a little bit more surprised about before they come here or as they start to look. But like anything, if you set your expectations in your mind up front, try to minimize some of the frustrations, plan ahead a bit, then it really doesn't have to be that bad. There's ways around a lot of these things to help you feel more comfortable as you're considering moving to the Sarasota area. Now, I have no doubt there's a number of people out there who are like, Jill, you should have said this, you should have said that, you should have said this is worse than red tide, or, so everybody's got their thing. So if you're one of those people, put it in the comments below. Let me know. I'll do a part 2 follow-up down the road, and I just might include your thing that you want people to know, the negative things, the reasons why maybe they shouldn't move here. And then as always, again, please reach out to me if there's anything I can do to help you out. I am just happy to answer your questions as you navigate these waters. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great day.